Whilst attending the Photography and Videography Expo in London a couple of months ago, I spent quite a lot of time at Viltrox's stand. They'd caught my eye with the 135mm 1.8 that they're currently making for the Z mount, and I had the opportunity to pop it on my Z8 and I was playing with it, and I was just thinking to myself, it's hard to believe that this sort of costs a fraction of the amount of the Nikon 135mm 1.8 Plena, and yet the bokeh looks amazing, it's autofocusing fast. I was just kind of having a bit of an epiphany of, wow, third-party lens manufacturers have come a really, really long way recently. So it was quite fortuitous when a couple of weeks back I heard from a Viltrox representative who asked me if I'd like to take a look at their latest 50mm lens. And this lens is an interesting proposition. It is the Viltrox AF 50 2.0 Z Air, and the Air designation means that it's light. In fact, this lens only weighs 220 grams and it's nice and small as well. It's a less in-your-face 50mm lens versus the ones that are currently available for Nikon Z mount. And I've really enjoyed shooting with it. Over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of had it stuck to my Nikon Z6 II, just because it feels like a really nice combination. Like, obviously it's great on the Z8 and I've also used it on the Z50 II, but on the Z6 II, it's just the right size. I'd imagine that the Z6 III would fit this really well too. And it's been really, really pleasant. And I was kind of having moments of deja vu, thinking to myself, wow, this feels really familiar and I can't work out why. And then it struck me, it's right behind me. This D300 always has my 50mm 1.8 AF-D on it for F-mount. And this lens and the Viltrox lens are really similar in size and weight. And this is glued to my D300 and D600 in the day for a lot of the time because I just really loved shooting with it. And this was an affordable 50mm lens. And this too, by Viltrox, is an affordable 50mm lens. At £229, it is not cheap, don't get me wrong. But it's a heck of a lot cheaper than Nikon's 50mm lenses. You can get the 50mm 1.8S and the Nikon 50mm 1.4, and both of those are roughly the same price. And they're a lot bigger and heavier too. So the £229 Viltrox is asking for this does look like something of a bargain. But is it? Is it worth the money? Well, let's jump into that. First off, let's discuss accessories. It comes with a lens hood. This sort of clicks, well, it doesn't click in place, that's my one gripe with it. It slides into place, it doesn't have a click or sort of lock to hold it in place. It's fine, I worry that I'll lose it at some point because of it, but it does do its job of keeping the sun out well. It's significantly smaller than the lens hood for the 1.8S, and that is no bad thing. So yeah, the lens hood is nice, just wish it would hold in place a little bit better. It also comes with front and rear lens caps, and they even give you a handy little pouch that you can store it in, which is significantly better than the crap microfiber ones that Nikon's currently giving us with various Nikon Z lenses. So well done Viltrox for doing better than Nikon. Build quality. It's important with a lens like this. It has a metal lens mount on the back. How cool is that? I call that out because Nikon's 40mm f2 has a plastic lens mount. So as far as I'm concerned, Viltrox is already doing better there. The plastics they've used, because of course at 220 grams you have to cut weight somewhere. If this was metal, that wouldn't work. Are really nice quality. They feel really, really steady. I will happily, you know, swing the lens about by the swing the camera about by the lens. It feels very sturdy and it holds in place, which is great. I like the plastics they've used for the main barrel. They feel very nice. I think they're quite high quality. And then for the focus ring, there's a slightly different, slightly more aggressive plastic. It does help you easily locate it. It is plastic rather than rubber, but other than that, that's fine. You also have a 58mm filter thread, really nice. Lots of cheap filters that can be had for 58mm. Buy like used ones. You have loads and loads of choice. And then the one thing I don't like from a design perspective is all this white writing on the front. It's just a bit much. You don't need the words full frame on here. We get it's a full frame lens if it's mounted on something like a Z6 II or a Z8, but that's like my only gripe. You also have at the bottom the sort of serial number and so on, which is stuck on as a sticker, so that might come off, but I wouldn't worry too much. So that is the construction. It feels good. It feels nice. It feels solid. Autofocus performance is really impressive. It snaps from point to point. It works really well on the Z6 II. I've used it in a variety of situations. It hasn't let me down yet. I'm actually really, really impressed by this. On the Z8 and Z50 II, it's obviously significantly better because the autofocus algorithms are a lot better. But I was really impressed by the autofocus performance, and it's absolutely silent too, which really surprised me. It's quieter than my 50mm 1.8s. So there's that, and focus speed must be about the same, and focus performance must be about the same. So that's really cool. But with third-party lenses, it's actually really important that you can update them. With Nikon's lenses, you can update them via the camera body, but with a third-party lens, you usually can't do that. And that usually means that you have to buy adapters or special cables, and then you lose them, and it's a bit of a mess. Viltrox, however, has just put a USB-C port on this lens, so you can update it. I think that's really, really clever. I've never seen a USB-C port on a lens before. I think it's really smart, so well done them. I don't know if anyone else is doing it, but it's really cool to see on this. It's nice to know that should Nikon launch a new camera and there be compatibility issues or they want to improve the performance, you can do it via USB-C and Viltrox's website. So good job. Of course, none of this matters if it performs terribly, right? Well, I'm pleased to say that I've really enjoyed shooting with this lens, and I've been really impressed by the optical performance of it. I've shot in a variety of different situations. I have most of the sample photos, having screwed up a file transfer and might have formatted card before I meant to. But I still have had plenty of test images to look through in more detail. And the sharpness of this lens is very, very good, like surprisingly so. I've been spending the majority of the time shooting this wide open at f2 because that's what you do with a 50 lens like this. And the bokeh in the background's been good. I've enjoyed the contrast and colors. I mean, hopefully these sample shots you're seeing is giving you an idea of what the lens is like. I just think it's a really well-performing lens. Like, we need to look at this in the context of its price point and the fact that it's quite small. So to me, they've done a fantastic job here. It's a great balance of performance, weight, and price. I do think that it's slightly less sharp than the 50mm 1.8s, right? But this lens is significantly larger, costs a lot more, and it's a lot heavier. But it's not different enough that I would go out of my way to pick up the 1.8s. Now, if I, for instance, were shooting like an environmental portrait and I wanted a 50mm lens, would I grab my 1.8s over this? Probably, yes, if it was paid work. But I wouldn't feel bad if all I had was this on me. It's like how you can pick holes into any lens if you look at the pixels in enough details, right? But to me, like if you print an image at like A4 size, which is quite large even today, the photos are going to look fantastic. And I think that's where this really excels. And it's perfect, because if you think of who this is aimed at, right? This is aimed at, I would think, photographers that want to add a nifty 50 to their kits. Perhaps you've got something like a 24-70 f4 or even the DX 16-50, and you want to add your first prime or want to add a small prime to your kit. This is perfect, and it performs really well with that in mind. I especially like it on the Z50 II actually, because it becomes a 75mm field of view, so it's almost like a portrait lens. And at f2 it performs really nicely, and you're only using the center section of the lens, and suddenly things come together and you can really enjoy it. Stop down at 5.6 and f8, obviously this lens is much sharper, as you'd expect, but it's still very nice at f2. It performs very well stop down, so from that perspective you're in a good place too. And it's just a very pleasant and enjoyable lens to use. Yes, there's going to be a bit of a nostalgia here by the fact that it just feels so similar to my D300 and the 50mm 1.8 AFD. But to me, this is just a really nice package. Now, it is also a lens you can use for video, especially due to the silent autofocus. It will perform absolutely fine, nothing to worry about there. I didn't do a huge amount of video with it just because it hasn't been what I'm shooting recently, but I did do some test video, and to me it looks great, and the autofocus didn't have any issues, and those are the two main things. So overall, this Viltrox lens is excellent value and is a really nice package. I really look forward to seeing more from Viltrox because clearly they're onto something with some of their lenses, and I hope to see continued innovation. When Canon launched the 75 to 300mm RF recently, which seems to be based on a 20-year-old optical formula and same autofocus motor as it happens, that's not what we need. We don't need old formulas that weren't particularly good to begin with being rehashed. We need to see innovation, doing something different, trying something different, and I think Viltrox is doing that here. And even against the own brand lenses by Nikon, like, this is performing really well. The 135mm 1.8 I tried from them was really, really good. So clearly, it's time to consider if you want to fill a gap that you can't get elsewhere, or you don't want to pay, you know, the prices from the main manufacturers. Consider lenses by third parties like Viltrox. They're very, very good nowadays. So yeah, if you have any questions about a lens, pop them in the comment section. Love to know if you've tried one, what you think. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye.